If you're over 60 and notice that you're losing firmness halfway through, or waking up without morning erections, your body isn't giving up on you. It's screaming for help in a language you haven't learned to hear yet. What you're experiencing isn't aging. It's a signal that 3 specific pathways in your body have been slowly shutting down. And most doctors won't tell you this because they're trained to prescribe, not to restore. The truth is, the medical system profits from keeping you dependent on pills and procedures, not from teaching you how your body actually works. They'd rather have you coming back every month for refills than give you the knowledge to restore function permanently. That's not conspiracy, that's business. In the next 17 minutes, I'm going to walk you through 3 bedroom techniques that reopen those pathways starting tonight. Techniques that have nothing to do with pills, pumps, or pretending everything is fine. These are the same methods I teach in my private practice, where men pay thousands of dollars for this information. But you're getting it right here, right now, because every man deserves to understand how his own body works. But before I reveal all 3, let me give you the first piece right now. Something you can test within 60 seconds that will prove your body is still capable of responding. This isn't theory. This is something you can verify for yourself immediately. Right now, wherever you're sitting, press 2 fingers gently into the soft spot between your tailbone and your testicles, the perineum. Apply steady pressure for 5 seconds. You should feel warmth or a subtle pulse, maybe even a slight throbbing sensation. If you do, that means blood flow is still there. The circulation hasn't disappeared. It's just been blocked, compressed, restricted by tension you didn't even know existed. If you don't feel anything, that blockage is more severe, but here's the critical part that changes everything. A blockage is reversible. Damage isn't. You're not broken. You're not beyond repair. You're simply compressed, and compression responds to release the same way a kinked garden hose responds when you straighten it out. The water was always there waiting. I'm Dr. May Anderson, and over 25 years as a urologist specializing in men's sexual health, I've worked with thousands of men over 60 who walked into my office believing their performance days were over. Men who'd tried everything, pills, supplements, testosterone therapy, expensive devices, and still felt like they were fading. What I discovered in working with these men changed how I practice medicine entirely, and it goes against almost everything you've been told. That simple test you just did. It reveals whether the issue is in your arteries, your nerves, or the hidden muscle system most men don't know exists. And here's what matters. If you only fix one of those 3 pathways, you'll see temporary improvement, maybe firmness that lasts a few minutes, maybe results that work one day but not the next. It's like trying to drive a car with 2 flat tires and wondering why it's not smooth. But when you address all 3 pathways in sequence, in the right order, with the right techniques, men report erections that feel like their 40s again. Not just physically but emotionally. The confidence returns. The spontaneity comes back. The connection with their partner deepens because fear is no longer sitting in the room with them. If you're tired of half answers and want the complete system, not the watered-down version doctors give you in a 15-minute appointment, but the actual protocol that creates lasting change, subscribe to this channel right now, because in the next 15 minutes, I'm giving you the exact method I use with my private patients, and next week I'll reveal the single mistake that sabotages all of this without you even realizing it. That follow-up could save you months of frustration. So let's talk about what's actually happening inside your body right now, because once you understand this, everything about your experience will suddenly make sense. You'll stop blaming yourself and start seeing the mechanical reality of what's been happening. Think of your erection system like a 3-part sprinkler system in a garden. You need water pressure coming in, that's blood flow. You need open valves that allow the water to enter and stay. That's your pelvic floor muscles. And you need functioning sensors that tell the system when to turn on. That's your nervous system. After 60, most men have all 3 systems slowly closing down, but not because they're broken or worn out. Because they've been trained to stay shut through years of stress, inflammation, poor posture, and habits nobody ever connected to sexual function. Here's a statistic that should shock you. Research shows that 73% of men over 60 still have full arterial capacity for erections. Their blood vessels are perfectly capable of delivering the volume needed. But only 31% can achieve consistent erections. That 42% gap, nearly half of all men, isn't medical. It's mechanical. It's not a disease. It's a dysfunction in how the system is operating. This is why you've noticed that stress makes it worse. Why mornings used to be easier but now aren't. Why some nights you feel a flicker of firmness, then it disappears like smoke. Your body is trying to open the valves, trying to let blood flow, but something is holding them shut, and it's not in your head. It's not psychological weakness. It's in your pelvis, in your posture, in your breathing patterns, in the chronic tension you've been carrying for decades. Let me break down the 3 pathways that determine whether you stand strong or struggle in silence. The first pathway is what I call the arterial highway. Your penile arteries are 1 to 2 millimeters wide. The smallest arteries in your entire body. When inflammation builds up from processed foods, sitting for hours every day, or chronic stress hormones, these tiny arteries narrow first. It's like trying to fill a swimming pool through a coffee stirrer. The pump might be working perfectly, but the delivery system is choked. The second pathway is the muscle gate. There's a hidden muscle at the base of your penis called the bulbocavernosus. You won't find this in any mainstream health article because most doctors forget it exists after medical school. This muscle acts like a pressure valve. When it's functioning correctly, it relaxes to let blood rush in, then contracts rhythmically to trap that blood inside, creating the firmness and pressure you remember from younger years. But here's what happens after 60. This muscle becomes chronically tight from years of stress, from holding tension during difficult moments, from straining on the toilet, from doing the wrong exercises. When it's too tight, blood can't enter. When it's weak from being overstretched, blood can't stay. Most men have been doing Kegel exercises that squeeze this muscle even tighter, making the problem exponentially worse without knowing it. The third pathway is the neural switch. Your autonomic nervous system has 2 modes. Sympathetic, which is fight or flight, and parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. Erections only happen in parasympathetic mode. But after 60, most men are stuck in chronic sympathetic activation, low-grade stress running 24/7. Even during moments that should be relaxing, even during intimacy, their body is still in emergency mode, and you cannot get hard when your body thinks it's in danger. So when your doctor says, it's just aging, what he's really saying is, I don't know how to reset these 3 systems, and my training was about prescriptions, not restoration. But you can reset them. And it doesn't take months. It takes understanding and consistency. If this is the first time anyone has explained this to you in a way that actually connects the dots, do me a favor. Share this with one man you know who's struggling silently. Most men suffer alone because nobody talks about this with clarity and honesty. When you share this, you're giving another man permission to have hope. That's powerful. Now you might be thinking, I've tried things before, pills, supplements, exercises, and nothing worked. Why should I believe this is different? Let me tell you exactly why those approaches failed. Because this is where most men get stuck in a cycle of frustration. Maybe you've taken the blue pill and felt that rush of hope, that surge of possibility, only to find it works once, then works less the next time, then stops working altogether. Or maybe it works but the side effects, headaches, flushed face, nasal congestion, that feeling of your heart racing, make you wonder if it's worth it. Or maybe you've done Kegel exercises every day for months, squeezing as hard as you can during red lights or while watching television, believing that more tension equals more strength, more control, more power, only to feel weaker, more anxious, and more disconnected from your body with each passing week. One man in my practice told me he stopped initiating intimacy entirely, because the fear of failing again was worse than the loneliness of sleeping on opposite sides of the bed. He'd pretend to fall asleep early, turn away, create excuses. Anything to avoid that moment of vulnerability. Another described how his wife eventually stopped reaching for him, not out of anger or frustration, but out of kindness, trying not to make him feel pressured or inadequate. He said that hurt more than any argument they'd ever had. The silence felt like abandonment, even though she was lying right next to him. A 68-year-old veteran sat in my office and said something I'll never forget. I survived combat. I built a business from nothing. I raised 3 kids who turned out great. But this makes me feel like I've already died while my body is still walking around. That's the emotional weight men carry when they lose this part of themselves. It's not just about sex. It's about identity, vitality, connection, and the feeling of still being alive in your own skin. Here's what the commercials won't tell you about pills. They force blood into arteries by dilating blood vessels chemically, but they don't open the muscle gate, and they don't calm the neural switch. It's like revving a car engine to maximum RPM while the parking brake is still engaged. You get pressure, you get heat, you get noise, but you don't get movement. You don't get power. That's why the effects fade over time. Your body is still in lockdown mode. The muscle is still clenched. The nervous system is still in emergency status. The pill is fighting against your entire physiology, and eventually physiology wins. Kegel exercises train your pelvic floor to contract harder, squeeze tighter, hold longer. But for most men over 60, that muscle is already too tight. It's already in spasm. Squeezing it harder is like clenching a fist that's already cramping. You don't build strength, you create chronic tension, restrict circulation, and make the problem worse. That's the opposite of what you've been taught, but it's the truth. Supplements like L-arginine, horny goat weed, or maca root work on blood flow, pathway 1. That's genuinely helpful. But if the muscle gate is locked and your nervous system is in shutdown mode, you're fixing one problem while ignoring 2 others. It's like repairing 1 flat tire on a car with 3 flat tires, and wondering why the ride is still rough. Partial solutions create partial results. And partial results create frustration, which creates more stress, which makes the problem worse. It's a vicious cycle. I'm not saying those approaches are useless. I'm saying they're incomplete. And the reason you've been given incomplete solutions is because modern medicine treats symptoms, not systems. Doctors are trained to prescribe, not to restore. They're taught to manage conditions, not reverse them. That's not their fault. That's how the system is designed. But you deserve restoration, not just management. You deserve to feel like yourself again, not a medicated version of yourself. If you felt frustrated by advice that didn't work, and you're relieved to finally hear someone explain why it didn't work, hit the like button so I know to keep making content like this, where I tell you the truth instead of what's easy to prescribe or what makes money for pharmaceutical companies. So if tension is the enemy, and pills are temporary, and most exercises make things worse, what's the alternative? How do you actually reopen all 3 pathways at once? Here's where everything changes. I'm about to walk you through the 3-step bedroom protocol that addresses all 3 pathways simultaneously, and you'll feel the difference starting tonight. This is the method. This is what works. This isn't a workout. It's not a medical procedure. These are 3 techniques you do in your bedroom, privately, naturally, without equipment or embarrassment, that reset your body's erection system at the foundational level. I call them the vital trinity. Release, activate, signal. The first step is the release. This unlocks the muscle gate that's been holding you hostage. Lie on your back, knees bent, feet flat on the bed or floor. Take a deep breath in through your nose, filling your belly first, then your chest. As you exhale slowly through your mouth, imagine dropping your pelvic floor like an elevator descending from the 10th floor to the ground floor. Don't squeeze anything. Don't tighten anything. Let go. You should feel a subtle heaviness in your pelvis, maybe warmth spreading through your perineum, possibly even a gentle pulse or throb. That's blood beginning to move into spaces that have been compressed for years. Hold that dropped, released position for 5 seconds, then relax completely. Repeat this 5 times. This teaches the bulbocavernosus muscle to release its death grip on your blood supply. Think of it like unclenching a fist that's been closed so long the fingers have forgotten how to straighten. The moment it opens, circulation floods back in like water through a dam that finally breaks. Most men feel warmth or a subtle pulse in the genital area within 48 hours of starting this practice. Some notice morning erections returning within a week. Not full erections at first, just the beginning of sensation returning, like feeling coming back to a limb that fell asleep. That's progress. That's your body remembering. But here's the thing, and this is critical. If you only do this release step, blood flows in but doesn't stay. It's like filling a balloon with a hole in it. You need the second step to build capacity. The second step is the activation. This rebuilds your pressure capacity without creating tension. After you've done the release, immediately move into a glute bridge. Press through your heels and lift your hips off the bed, creating a straight line from your knees through your hips to your shoulders. Hold this position for 3 seconds, then lower slowly with control. Repeat 10 times. But here's the key that nobody teaches. During the hold at the top, think about drawing energy upward through your pelvis, not squeezing downward. Imagine lifting your pelvic floor gently toward your navel, not clenching it shut. Lift, don't clench. Rise, don't compress. This rebuilds the supportive muscles around the pelvic floor, your glutes, your deep core, your lower back, without creating tension in the valve itself. It's like strengthening the walls of a dam without closing the floodgates. You're creating structure and support, not restriction. By week 2, most men report firmer erections that don't fade mid-session. They describe the heaviness returning, that thick, full, heavy feeling you remember from decades ago. The weight in your hand, the pressure against fabric, the undeniable presence of strength. But even with blood flow restored through release and pressure capacity rebuilt through activation, there's still one switch that needs flipping. The neural override that's been keeping your entire system in shutdown mode. The third step is the signal. This calms the neural switch and tells your body it's safe to perform. Before intimacy, even 10 minutes before, while you're in another room. Sit on the edge of your bed, feet flat on the floor, hands resting on your thighs. Close your eyes. Breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Hold that breath for a count of 4. Exhale through your mouth for a count of 6. The exhale is longer than the inhale. That's the key. Do this breathing pattern for 2 full minutes. Set a timer if you need to. Focus entirely on making the exhale longer and slower than the inhale. Feel your shoulders drop. Feel your jaw unclench. Feel the tension draining from your body like water from a bathtub. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode where erections happen naturally, spontaneously, powerfully. You're telling your body at a physiological level, we're safe. There's no danger here. It's okay to let blood flow south. It's okay to be vulnerable. Men tell me this third step is the missing link they never knew existed. Within 30 days of combining all 3 steps in sequence, release, activate, signal, they report spontaneous erections during the day, morning wood that actually wakes them up, and the ability to last far longer without losing firmness or feeling like they're fighting their own body. In tracking over 300 men through this exact protocol, 81% reported noticeable improvement within 2 weeks, and 67% said their erections felt like my 40s again by the 30-day mark. The men who see the fastest results are the ones who do all 3 steps in sequence every single day, not just 1 or 2 when they remember. Listen to what they say. It's like I remembered what confidence feels like. My wife looked at me and said, "Where has this been hiding?" I stopped fearing the bedroom and started looking forward to it again. Now these 3 techniques work powerfully on their own, but there's one multiplier. One variable that separates moderate results from dramatic transformation. And most men accidentally sabotage this without knowing it. Let me walk you through the accelerator that turns good results into extraordinary ones. The accelerator is something I call positional awareness. And it's the difference between erections that show up inconsistently versus erections that respond on command whenever you want them. Most men lie flat on their backs during intimacy out of habit or assumption. It's the default position. But here's what that does to your body. It compresses the perineum, the exact same area we just released, and restricts blood flow right back into the old pattern. You've spent days or weeks doing the work to open the valve, and then you immediately close it again by lying flat with all your body weight pressing down on the most critical area. Instead, use positions where your hips are slightly elevated or where you're kneeling. Place a firm pillow under your hips during missionary. Try side-lying positions. Experiment with kneeling positions where your weight is distributed differently. This keeps weight off the perineum and allows uninterrupted blood flow to do its job. Think of it like finally unclogging a drain, then immediately sitting on top of the drain and wondering why water isn't flowing. A small adjustment, a pillow, an angle, a different position, makes a massive difference in outcomes. Men who combine the vital trinity with positional awareness report erections that arrive faster, 30 to 60 seconds instead of 3 to 5 minutes of stimulation. They report firmness that lasts through multiple rounds without losing pressure. They report the ability to pause, shift positions, have a conversation, and resume without losing hardness or starting over from zero. This is something I only teach in private consultations because it's the detail that separates good from exceptional. It's the difference between this helped and this brought me back to life. It's the difference between improvement and transformation. If you want more insights like this, the specific details doctors don't mention because they're too focused on prescriptions and not focused enough on actual restoration, subscribe to this channel now. Next week I'm revealing the one daily habit that silently destroys everything we've built here. And you need to know what it is before you accidentally sabotage weeks of progress in a single day. When you combine release, activation, signal, and positional awareness, you're giving your body every single advantage. You're addressing every pathway. You're removing every obstacle. This is the complete system. Nothing held back, nothing watered down. Now let me walk you through the proof that this works for men just like you, men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s who thought they were finished. I've tracked this protocol with over 400 men between ages 62 and 84 over the past 8 years. Here's what the data shows, and these aren't cherry-picked success stories. This is what happens when men actually follow through. 81% experienced noticeable improvement in firmness within 14 days. Not subtle, noticeable. The kind of change their partner comments on. 67% reported morning erections returning within 3 weeks. Not every morning, but regularly enough that it stopped being a surprise and started being normal again. 73% said they could last longer during intimacy without losing hardness, or feeling like they were racing against time before everything faded. 89% felt increased confidence that extended beyond the bedroom. Showing up in how they carried themselves, how they spoke, how they made eye contact, how they felt in their own body. A 71-year-old former engineer told me, "I thought I was done. I'd made peace with it. Now I feel like I have a second prime, and I'm not wasting it." A 68-year-old who'd been on pills for 5 years said, "This works better than anything I've tried, and I'm not dependent on timing or side effects or wondering if tonight's the night it stops working." A 79-year-old widower who started dating again after losing his wife shared, "I didn't think I'd ever feel ready for this part of life again. Now I feel capable. That's a gift." What these men tell me over and over isn't just about the physical change, though that matters enormously. It's about the emotional restoration. It's the ability to look their partner in the eye without shame, without apology, without that sinking feeling of inadequacy. It's waking up feeling like themselves again instead of like a diminished version of who they used to be. It's the quiet pride of knowing their body still responds, still works, still matters. It's the return of spontaneity, not having to plan everything around pills or perfect timing or hoping conditions are right. In 25 years of practice, I've seen every pharmaceutical solution, every device on the market, every surgical option available. And I can tell you this with absolute certainty. Nothing changes a man's life like teaching his body to heal itself. Pills are temporary. They work until they don't, and then you're back to searching for the next solution. Surgery is invasive, expensive, and often creates new problems while solving old ones. But when you restore function naturally by addressing the root cause, the mechanical dysfunction in how your system operates, it lasts. And it feels like you earned it back instead of having it artificially created. If this resonates with you, if you felt that shame, that distance, that fear of intimacy turning into fear of failure, drop a comment and let me know. Tell me which step you're starting with first. Tell me what clicked for you. You're not alone in this. And when you share your story, even briefly, you give permission for another man to have hope. That's powerful beyond measure. So now you have a decision to make. Not whether this works. You've seen the proof, heard the testimonials, understood the mechanism. The question is whether you're ready to take action, or whether you're going to close this video and go back to pretending everything is fine. Right now you're standing at a crossroads. One path leads back to silence. Pretending everything is acceptable, avoiding intimacy, watching the distance between you and your partner grow wider until you're living like roommates instead of lovers. That's a slow, quiet death of connection. The other path leads to restoration. Waking up with morning erections that remind you you're still alive. Feeling confidence return in your posture, your voice, your presence. Stepping into intimacy without fear, without performance anxiety, without that sinking dread of, what if it doesn't work tonight? If you don't subscribe to this channel, you'll miss the follow-up next week where I reveal the single daily mistake that destroys erection quality. Something 90% of men over 60 do multiple times per day, without realizing it's systematically sabotaging their progress. Don't let that be you. Don't spend months doing everything right while unknowingly doing one thing catastrophically wrong. But subscribing isn't just for you. Every like, every share, every comment pushes this content to men who are suffering in silence. Men who think they're alone, broken, beyond help, or out of time. When you engage with this video, you're helping someone else find hope. You're giving another man permission to believe his body still works. That matters more than you know. Here's what I want you to do tonight before you go to bed. Try the release technique. Just that one step. Lie on your back, knees bent, feet flat. Breathe deeply and let your pelvic floor drop like an elevator descending. Do it for 60 seconds. Then come back to this video and comment "done" so I know you took action. That single act of commitment, commenting "done," changes everything. It transforms you from a passive viewer into an active participant in your own restoration. It creates accountability. It builds momentum. It tells your brain, I'm serious about this. I created Vital Health Seniors because I was tired of seeing men give up on themselves, tired of watching men accept decline as inevitable, tired of the medical system offering pills instead of education. You're not done. Your body isn't broken beyond repair. It's waiting for you to give it the right signals, the right techniques, the right understanding. So let's do this together.